Welcome to Witch Hunt, the podcast of the witch trials. I'm Josh Hutchinson.
I'm Sarah Jack. Today we have a special bonus episode for you.
We're so excited to talk to you about an important and free public event happening in Hartford, Connecticut on February 1st.
Witch Hunt Podcast is honored to be involved with a unique tribute to those accused of witchcraft in colonial Connecticut.
So come out and join us on Saturday, February 1st from 1 p.m. to about 3:30 p.m.
This event is taking place in Hartford, Connecticut at Connecticut's Old State House.
The event is called Remembering the Innocent Victims of Connecticut's Witch Trials. It's an opportunity to pay tribute to those who were accused of witchcraft in Connecticut's past.
It's also an opportunity to reflect upon the legacy of the witch trials and to learn from the witch trials history and apply those lessons to today's witchcraft accusations and other witch hunts.
Remembering the Innocent Victims of Connecticut's Witch Trials is presented by the Connecticut Witch Trial Exoneration Project, in Witch Hunts, the Ancient Burying Ground Association, and the Old State House.
Josh and I are the MCs, and we have had a really fun time putting the program together and planning the expert panel.
We're so excited about the guests that are lined up for this very special event. The guests include the two Connecticut legislators who co-submitted House Joint Resolution 34, resolution concerning certain witchcraft convictions in colonial Connecticut, back in 2023 to exonerate the victims.
Those are Representative Jane Garibay of the 60th District, representing Windsor and Windsor Locks, and Senator Saud Anwar of the 3rd District, representing East Hartford, Ellington, East Windsor, and South Windsor. Their collaboration on that legislation effort is unmatched. For a historical justice resolution, it's really special that they're going to be with us on the 1st to talk about why that measure was important to them.
Yes, so good to have them back. We'll also have distinguished historians taking part in the Remembrance Day, including Dr. Katherine Hermes, Professor Emeritus of History at Central Connecticut State University, and Dr. Richard S. Ross III, Professor Emeritus of History at Trinity College.
Dr. Hermes was instrumental in the drafting of the resolution, and Dr. Richard S. Ross III, author of Before Salem, Witch Hunting in the Connecticut River Valley, is going to be there to answer some historical questions and to talk about the history walks that he does in the fall around the community. Both Dr. Ross and Dr. Hermes have been important guests on our podcast.
And we'll also hear from the Connecticut Witch Trial Exoneration Project co-founders. We'll hear from Tony Grigo, a retired police officer who's been advocating for these victims for 20 years.
And author Beth M. Caruso, author of the Connecticut Witch Trials trilogy. One of Windsor was the first book in the series.
And we'll hear from Mary Louise Bingham, who's a passionate advocate dedicated to the memory of those who were accused of witchcraft.
I just want to make sure our listeners understand how special it is to hear from the project members on February 1st. Tony, Beth, and Mary were a part of our launching episodes with the podcast. Our very early conversations that we gave you were with them about the history. Tony and Beth have worked for years on memorializing the victims of the Connecticut witch trials, and they've used Facebook to tell those stories. Tony has experience and insight that nobody else can offer because of how long he's been advocating. He investigated locations and stories of the witch trial victims, and Beth has researched and written stories for us to be able to imagine what was life like in Windsor and what could that first victim have experienced. Mary had a really special role in the Connecticut Witch Trial Exoneration Project because she used a video at the Proctor's Ledge Memorial in Salem to talk about the victims of Connecticut. And she shared that with legislators.
The program features a dramatic reading of an original Connecticut play by Connecticut performers Deborah J. Walsh and Ginny Wolfe called The Last Night. It's an imagining of the last night that Rebecca Greensmith and Mary Barnes spent together in the Hartford jail.
And it's really important, especially when you're trying to find some justice for historical injustices, to know the history and what we have in the record, but to also use the arts to bring the possibilities to life and to learn what we can from those people.
The event also features a remembrance ceremony, which will be led by Sherry Kuiper of the Associated Daughters of Early American Witches, with assistance from witch trial victim descendants Patricia Brune and Sue Bailey. The remembrance ceremony is going to feature a few remarks about the victims and the importance of remembering them, and a poem will be read.
The victims' names will be read, and flowers will be laid upon a memorial table. Are you going to be there? You need to be there with us to experience these great conversations and the tribute. And we're also, weather pending, going to the ancient burying ground because over there are a few memorial bricks for some of the witch trial victims. We're going to hear from Richard Ross about his walks that he gives there. And while we're there, we'll also hear some important remarks from Executive Director Christine Jewell. It was established in 1640. It is Hartford's oldest historic site. Between 1640 and the early 1800s, 5,000 to 6,000 people were interred in the ancient burying ground.
The burials include some of those individuals who were involved in the witch trials as magistrates and witnesses. Because we don't know the locations where the accused were buried, memorial bricks have been placed in the ancient burying ground for Mary Sanford, Mary Barnes, and Alice Young. The Ancient Burying Ground Association works to restore and conserve the ancient burying ground.
They aspire to memorialize these sacred grounds and the heritage of Hartford. They conserve, restore, enhance, and maintain the ancient burying ground.
They educate and enlighten supporters and offer resources to the general public and foster research, including literary, cultural, historical, and genealogical. We hope you can join us for this free public event because it's important to remember the witch trials and learn from our forebears' mistakes. Because witch hunts, both literal and figurative, continue today, and we have to learn how to stop them.
This event is unique and special because it's the first of its kind in Connecticut, recognizing the scope of the witch trials and celebrating the resolution that passed in 2023.
Yes, this is the first official celebration of the exoneration of the victims, and it represents the biggest forum to date for reflecting upon the Connecticut witch trials and what they mean for us now.
As a guest of our event, you are going to be entertained, you're going to learn, you're going to have an opportunity to reflect and connect with other descendants, historians, and community members that care about this marginalized history.
So what were these Connecticut witch trials that we're talking about?
Between 1647 and 1742, at least 51 individuals were accused of witchcraft in Connecticut and New Haven colonies that we know of through court documents and other records.
It's likely that others were also accused who are not known at this time due to many missing records.
There were 17 individuals either accused informally or were plaintiffs in defamation suits against their accusers.
And the other 34 individuals were indicted. 14 of them were convicted. However, 2 convictions were reversed and 1 sentence was reprieved.
11 individuals were executed, 9 women and 2 men, both husbands of women who were also executed.
Between 1647 and 1691 in New England, a total of 16 people were executed for witchcraft. 11 of them were in Connecticut versus only 5 in Massachusetts.
The first known to have been executed for witchcraft in the American colonies was Alice Young of Windsor. She was hanged May 26, 1647. Her trial is the first recorded instance of a formal witchcraft accusation in New England. It was only the beginning.
The final witchcraft executions in Connecticut took place on January 25th, 1663, when Mary Barnes, Rebecca Greensmith, and Nathaniel Greensmith were hanged in Hartford.
Why are we remembering the witch trials like this?
We're remembering the witch trials because many lessons can be learned from them, as we and our panel will discuss during this event. We have to learn how to manage our fear and stop blaming innocent people for our own mistakes and for misfortunes that befall us, that these people have nothing to do with.
Yeah, they weren't persecuted for their religious beliefs or magical practices. They were persecuted for allegedly having a diabolical contract with the devil.
Sarah, what is End Witch Hunts?
End Witch Hunts is our nonprofit. It is a US-based 501c3 nonprofit organization, and it's dedicated to raising awareness of the current global crisis of violence related to accusations of witchcraft and assisting in the elimination of these harmful practices, as well as telling the historical significance of witch trials.
And the Connecticut Witch Trial Exoneration Project is a volunteer advocacy organization founded in 2022 to promote the exoneration of Connecticut's witch trial victims. The organization continues to be active in memorializing the victims.
That's where these pins come into play. These are project pins, and we wore these when we testified at the Connecticut General Assembly for the resolution. And the pins are available to buy on Zazzle in our End Witch Hunts Zazzle shop. They're just like $4 or something like that. And buying something in our nonprofit shop supports our nonprofit, and you can show your support for the Connecticut witch trial victims.
Okay. So, what is exoneration? Exoneration is defined as clearing someone of an accusation or blame. It's different from a pardon in that a pardon implies guilt, while an exoneration affirms innocence.
And we need to define absolution. It means to set or declare someone free from blame, guilt, or responsibility.
And we're defining that because in the resolution that was passed, the word used was absolved. Those accused of witchcraft were declared free from any blame, guilt, or responsibility for the crimes they did not commit.
And we know that they were completely innocent.
And the resolution absolving those accused of witchcraft in colonial Connecticut was adopted by the General Assembly on May 25th, 2023.
We're excited about what you're going to learn at the event. You're going to learn important history.
You'll also learn some of the lessons that we'll be able to take from the witch trials, from what our ancestors and forebears have done before us, and learn about how to apply that to modern times and the modern crisis of harmful practices related to accusations of witchcraft and ritual attack.
The modern crisis is something we use our podcast to discuss every week. And this is an opportunity for you to hear about it in person.
Yeah.
We're going to have a very special announcement at this event.
So stay tuned. Please come out Saturday, February 1st, 1 p.m. at Connecticut's Old State House in Hartford and learn what we have to announce.
We would like to thank Connecticut's Old State House for opening their courtroom for this event.
Thank you very much for hosting this event, Old State House, and everyone involved there. We appreciate the assistance we've received from the staff. We'd like to thank William and Jennifer Schlote, who you may remember from a previous episode of this podcast. They've crafted a board of the names of all of those accused of witchcraft in Connecticut for use in the remembrance ceremony. It's going to be so special to see that there and to see them back. You might remember that William Schlote testified in the Judiciary Committee when the exoneration legislation was up.
Also on display during the event is going to be a digital version of this international photo exhibit, Witch Hunts in the 21st Century, a Human Rights Catastrophe. And what's really special about this exhibit is there is a beautiful photo of the Alice Young Memorial brick in Windsor with some memorial flowers laid here. And this is a photo by none other than Joshua Hutchinson. This photo is traveling the world, and it is part of this important collection along with a couple other New England witch hunt photos. And you can preview this exhibit digitally at the event.
And I'd like to thank very much the committee that came together to work on this special Remembrance Day. It took a lot of people, dozens of individuals getting involved and rolling up their sleeves to make this happen.
The Connecticut Witch Trial Exoneration Project is really a powerful group of people. It's many people, and they're all volunteers. We met by Zoom because we're across the nation, and we met regularly to bring this together, but it was everybody's ideas. And the local committee members have done a lot to make sure this goes off without a hitch. So I feel so privileged to have worked with each of them, to have worked with each volunteer. And I am excited for the next phase of the exoneration project.
Sarah, I thought that it would be special for us to read the names of those accused of witchcraft. Would you like to begin?
I would. It's so important for us to see their names and to say their names. Alice Young of Windsor, first person hanged for witchcraft in the American colonies, May 26, 1647.
Mary Johnson of Wethersfield, hanged for alleged witchcraft in 1648.
Goodwife Bassett of Stratford, hanged for alleged witchcraft in 1651.
Joan and John Carrington of Wethersfield, hanged for alleged witchcraft together in 1651.
Goodwife Knapp of Fairfield, hanged for alleged witchcraft in 1653.
Lydia Gilbert of Windsor, hanged for alleged witchcraft, 1654.
Elizabeth Godman of New Haven, acquitted of witchcraft, 1655.
Goodwife and Nicholas Bailey of New Haven, acquitted of witchcraft in 1655.
William Meeker of New Haven, slandered as a witch, 1657.
Elizabeth Garlick of East Hampton, acquitted of witchcraft in 1658.
Unknown of Saybrook, investigated for alleged witchcraft in 1659.
Catherine Palmer of Wethersfield, accused of witchcraft in 1648, 1662, 1667, and 1672.
Margaret Jennings and Nicholas Jennings of Saybrook, acquitted of witchcraft, 1661.
Mary Sanford of Hartford, hanged for alleged witchcraft, 1662.
Andrew Sanford of Hartford, acquitted of witchcraft, 1662.
Rebecca and Nathaniel Greensmith of Hartford, hanged for alleged witchcraft, 1663.
Mary Barnes of Farmington, hanged for alleged witchcraft, January 25th, 1663. Judith Bartlett of Hartford, accused, 1662.
James Wakely of Hartford, accused, 1662.
William and Judith Ayres of Hartford, accused, 1662.
Goodwife Grant of Hartford, accused, 1662.
Elizabeth and John Blackleach of Hartford, accused of witchcraft, 1662.
Elizabeth Seeger of Hartford, indicted twice in 1663 and then convicted of alleged witchcraft in 1665, but reprieved.
Hannah Griswold of Saybrook, slandered as a witch, 1667.
William Graves of Stamford, indicted for alleged witchcraft in 1667.
Katherine Harrison of Wethersfield, convicted of alleged witchcraft, 1668, reprieved.
Sarah Dibble of Stamford, accused of witchcraft, 1669.
Goodwife Messenger of Windsor, slandered as a witch, 1673.
Goodwife Burr of Wethersfield, slandered as a witch, 1678.
Unknown of Hartford, accused, 1682.
Goodwife Bowden of New Haven, slandered as a witch, 1689.
Mercy Holbridge Disborough of Campo, convicted of witchcraft, 1692, reprieved.
Elizabeth Clausen of Stamford, acquitted of witchcraft, 1692.
Goodwife Miller of Fairfield, accused of witchcraft, 1692.
Mary Staples of Fairfield, slandered as a witch, 1654, and indicted for alleged witchcraft in 1692.
Mary Harvey and daughter Hannah Harvey, both of Fairfield, indicted for alleged witchcraft, 1692.
Hugh Croce of Stratford, accused of witchcraft, 1693.
Winifred Benham of Wallingford, accused of witchcraft, 1692 and 1693. Then tried again with her daughter Winifred Benham Jr. in 1697. They were acquitted.
Sarah Clother and Goodwife Brown of Colchester, slandered as witches in 1713.
Alexander Williamson of Wethersfield, slandered as a witch, 1716.
Sarah Spencer of Colchester, slandered as a witch, 1724.
Elizabeth Gold of Guilford, slandered as a witch, 1742. That's almost 100 years of accusations.
Yes. And we know that accusations continued even after this, though those aren't recorded in court records that have been located. We do know from newspaper accounts that there were still rumors and suspicions of witchcraft all throughout Connecticut in the 18th, 19th, and even 20th centuries.
Thanks for listening to our special bonus episode about our in-person event coming up on February 1st.
We really hope to see you there, so please join us on Saturday, February 1st at 1 p.m. at the Old State House in downtown Hartford. It's at 800 Main Street. If you're able to, arrive a little early and you can connect with other guests and interact and have a seat before we begin promptly at 1.
Thank you, Josh.
And thank you for joining us for this special bonus episode. Join us again this Wednesday for our regular episode.
See you then.
Have a great today and a beautiful tomorrow. And we'll see you February 1st.
February 1st.